In 2025, a brand new zombie film has arrived. This one's not only packed with horror and thrills, but it's also the very first of its kind out of Mongolia. The story kicks off with a group of criminals being transported to a top-secret prison. But what they don't know is that behind this facility lies a dark and twisted experiment. To establish control, the prisoners are hit with a harsh welcome the moment they arrive. They thought a few kicks and shoves would be the end of it, but things quickly take a darker turn. At dinner time, the guards order all the inmates out onto the yard. Then, right in front of them, they drop metal dog bowls, one by one. One female prisoner can't hold back and starts to protest, but a guard immediately beats her down with a baton. No mercy, no hesitation. Then, the guards start painting marks on the prisoners' bodies. One stripe of paint means you've broken a rule. 2 stripes? Something terrifying happens. No one knows what exactly, but it's enough to turn the inmates pale with fear. Terrified, one of them quickly picks up the dog bowl and starts eating like an animal. The others follow suit, swallowing their pride along with their food. Only when everyone's humiliated themselves to the guard's satisfaction does the instructor finally crack a smug smile. In this prison, human rights don't exist. There's only one rule: obey or suffer. In such a high-pressure environment, one daring prisoner decides to make a break for it. But he doesn't get far. Guards catch him almost immediately and drag him back. To send a message, the instructor beats him senseless in front of everyone, then throws him into a metal cage like an animal. And the rest of the inmates? They're punished too. No dinner, and they're forced to kiss the instructor's leather boots. This kind of inhumane treatment pushes the inmates to the brink. Eventually, they make a bold decision to try and escape again. Soon, their chance arrives. That day, the instructor suddenly walks into the dorm and calls out one prisoner, B. He orders him to follow. The moment they leave, the others realize this might be their only shot. Wasting no time, they throw on their clothes and make a run for the outer perimeter of the prison. Meanwhile, B is taken into a hidden underground lab. And here's where the horrifying truth comes out. This prison is just a cover for a dark, twisted experiment. They've been using cells from a little girl as part of a sick project, trying to create an army of the undead. But something went horribly wrong. The moment the virus is injected into B, he snaps. His body mutates instantly. He becomes a raging, bloodthirsty monster with terrifying strength. The situation spirals out of control, and the prison goes into full lockdown. Alarms blare. Some guards panic and flee their posts. Luckily, a support unit arrives just in time. They manage to kill a few of the creatures and temporarily restore order. But just as they think the worst is over and begin clearing the area. After dealing with the SWAT team, the zombies quickly notice the escaping prisoners ahead. It doesn't take long before the SWAT members themselves are turned into zombies and rise from the dead, making the situation even more chaotic. The warden sees the worsening crisis and, without hesitation, hops into a truck and drives away, leaving everyone else to fend for themselves. BC and the others stumble into a nearby forest, completely frantic and unable to understand what is happening. But they quickly spot the truck that the warden had driven off in, not far ahead. Cautiously, they move forward and manage to take out a few zombies wandering around. However, their actions attract the attention of even more zombies, and the numbers start to swell. With the situation spiraling out of control and no weapons to defend themselves, they have no choice but to retreat back to the camp. As they approach, BT desperately tries to block the camp's entrance with a metal frame, but it's clear that it won't hold for long. With no other options left, they gather their courage and continue moving forward. Meanwhile, the instructor and BB inside the prison begin taking different actions. As the prison falls, their roles are reversed. Just as BC prepares to force the instructor into revealing the truth, a screeching, guttural growl pierces the air. In an instant, the group is on high alert, looking around frantically like startled prey. At this point, the instructor finally starts to reveal the truth. It turns out that the prison had triggered a level 5 lockdown because a secret experiment was underway in the basement. All the inmates sent here were actually test subjects, and it was the experiment going out of control that caused this entire disaster. BC is furious after hearing this. He immediately ties the instructor's hands and assigns his teammates to take turns keeping watch. He decides that once they've regained some strength, they'll head to the weapons storage. However, the instructor suggests they check the basement first, claiming that's where the real source of the outbreak is. BC ignores the suggestion and sticks to his plan. The next day, 2 other teammates who had managed to escape from the horde return and safely reunite with the group. Realizing they can't afford to stall any longer, BC decides it's time to move. From the instructor, He learns that there are several other camps nearby, but only the instructor knows the correct path. While they're still negotiating, TC suddenly coughs up a thick, black goo. P quickly pulls back TC's collar and discovers a zombie scratch on his neck. BC immediately declares that TC needs to be executed, but is stopped by another teammate. As the two argue, TC, holding onto the last bit of his humanity, sprints off the bus. He wants to do something, anything, to help the rest of them. TC grabbed the whistle and began luring the nearby zombies toward him. BC and the others made a split-second decision. Without hesitation, they burst out of the bus, using the chance to escape. But at that very moment, the instructor seized the opportunity. He broke free from his restraints and slipped away, heading straight back to the basement. Meanwhile, a woman was trying to evacuate a little girl. It turned out that the zombie virus had been extracted from the girl's body. She was the key to stopping the outbreak. But the instructor had no intention of letting the virus be cured. He knocked out the woman and forcibly took the girl with him. Back outside, TC led the zombies into an open field. Knowing his end was near, he blew the whistle one last time with all his remaining strength, drawing the horde to himself. During their escape, BC and the others weren't so lucky either. They ran into a group of zombies head-on. Those who lagged behind were quickly caught and turned into prey. BC and a few others managed to scramble onto a truck, but the zombies were right behind them, sparking a brutal fight. There were just too many of them. In a last act of bravery, BB chose to stay behind and distract the horde, giving his teammates a fighting chance. P didn't waste a second. He fired up the engine and sped off into the distance. However, BC, who hadn't made it onto the truck in time, was ambushed by a zombie due to sheer exhaustion. Just as he was about to become the undead's next meal, AT and the others arrived in the nick of time and pulled him to safety. Meanwhile, on a different part of the compound, the instructor was also facing his own battle. Despite being swarmed by a wave of zombies, he wielded a sharp axe with terrifying precision. With each swing, he landed clean, skull-splitting blows. Within moments, the ground around him was littered with the fallen dead. Back at the main camp, BC and his remaining two companions, unfamiliar with the terrain, had no choice but to return to the base to regroup. As they were studying the map, a sudden knock echoed from the door. But when they opened it, they were surprised to find the woman the instructor had knocked unconscious earlier. She was still alive and revealed that she too had once worked in the prison. With tensions high, no one had time to argue about past allegiances. BC was desperate for answers and asked her to tell them everything she knew. The woman didn't waste time. She asked them directly if they had seen a little girl. Noticing their guarded stares and clear mistrust, she led them to the surveillance room instead. There, every detail of the experiment had been recorded. The footage revealed it all. The woman revealed that the experiment had been carried out in secret for over 2 years. Not long ago, scientists had accidentally discovered a gene that resembled a parasitic organism, one capable of manipulating human behavior and brain activity, unlocking physical power far beyond normal human limits. To better understand the phenomenon, the researchers began conducting inhumane live experiments. Eventually, they managed to create a prototype vaccine. But instead of curing the subjects, the vaccine had an unintended and horrifying side effect. It stripped them of their sanity and turned them into mindless zombies. According to the woman, there was now only one hope of reversing the virus: the little girl who had been taken by the instructor. After thinking it through carefully, BC made a firm decision. They had to get the girl back from the instructor, no matter the risk. The woman, however, chose to stay behind. Soon, BC found P, but to their shock, she was with the instructor. The tension in the room instantly became unbearable. BC sat across from the instructor, but instead of blaming P for her betrayal, he simply asked the instructor to hand over the little girl. However, the instructor refused to budge. Just as the two were at a standstill, the missing warden made a sudden reappearance. Holding a gun, he immediately commanded the room. The three of them stood frozen, each aware that one wrong move could be deadly. The warden, looking ravenous, began devouring the food on the table without any regard for the situation unfolding around him. The instructor eyed the gun on the table, itching to make a move, but before he could, the warden quickly grabbed the weapon. As the tension escalated and they prepared to submit to the warden's will, a terrifying twist occurred. The virus inside the warden's body suddenly activated. It turned out that during his escape, he had been bitten by a zombie. Seizing the opportunity, the instructor lunged forward, grabbed the gun, and ended the warden's life. But instead of calming the situation, the instructor pointed the gun directly at BC. In that moment, BC reacted quickly, rushing the instructor and engaging in a violent struggle. Meanwhile, P, who had managed to escape with the little girl, wasn't entirely at ease. As she made her way out, she had AT drive away, promising to return and help BC once she could get to safety. In the end, after a fierce life-or-death struggle, BC managed to overpower the instructor and wrestled the gun from his hands. But instead of pulling the trigger, BC made a surprising choice. He decided to team up with the instructor and escape together. The reason was clear. The gunshots had already attracted a swarm of zombies, and they were closing in fast. Alone, BC stood no chance of breaking through the horde. But with the instructor by his side, there was at least a sliver of hope. The two fought side by side with everything they had, holding out just long enough for P to return with backup. But the car's fragile windows couldn't withstand the zombies' relentless assault. In the chaos, AT was bitten, and the instructor was dragged out of the car by the undead, quickly overwhelmed by the horde. In a final act of resolve, AT managed to start the engine, slamming on the gas and speeding away with the others. When they finally reached a safe spot, AT knew what was coming. Without saying much, he opened the car door and quietly walked into the forest alone. A few days later, BC, P, and the little girl made it back to the city, only to find it completely in ruins. Skyscrapers crumbled, streets abandoned, and smoke rising in the distance. The virus had already spread beyond the prison.